Hey, data scientists, data engineers, Pythonistas, welcome back to another on this series in Fluent Python from Luciano Ramallo's amazing book by the same name. So in this episode, I am going to go over bisect, putting a needle into a haystack. We have a little demo here from the book that we're going to step through together and talk about bisect in sort. So stick around and let's do some Python. Okay, so what we are talking about is the Python standard library binary search algorithm. It's provided to us so that we can insert items into already sorted lists and arrays. So go ahead and import bisect, import sys so that we can use it later for some command line arguments for this demo. All of this code, by the way, I've gotten from Luciano Ramallo's GitHub project on Fluent Python, which you can find on his GitHub account, just freely available. I've just brought in the two sorted lists. We have our haystack, and we have a list of needles. We just declared a row format. So here I'm going to go through the setup for this example. He defines a bisect, a function called demo that takes a bisect function as input. And then he says for needle in reversed of the needles. So this reversed operator actually creates an iterator of the needles in reverse order. We didn't modify this list in place by sorting it. That would have modified the global out here, which is something that we don't necessarily want if order is important for us. But using reverse gives us an iterator that will be expanded in the scope of the function. But more on iterators in a later video. So here we're just going to get the position by calling the bisect function and passing in the haystack and then the needle that we picked. So we're iterating backwards through the needles. We're going to and then get from the bisect function that we're calling the position for where that needle should go given the haystack. We're just going to make an offset here. So using that position times, so the position is going to be an iterator, and then we're going to space out the number of places and put in this string, which you'll see later creates just a nice little visual for us to see where we are going to put that needle in that haystack. So then we're going to print using that row format that we set up before. So row format is a string, and it's taking 4 inputs, and those inputs are, when we format them, the needle itself, the needle that we're going to put into the haystack, where we're going to put it, and the offset. Okay. 1, 2, 3 inputs. Actually, I want to see what position is because this looks like 4 inputs to me right up here. So position might be a tuple and not a single value. So we have demo, which is our function that takes a function. So we can pass in the bisect function into it. This is more elaborately set up in Luciano Ramallo's example here. And then if I expand this out and then run this again, what do I see? Oh, I see. In his example down here, what he does is print the haystack so that it is a lot more legible what's going on. So let's do that. So we're going to pass a string formatter for n in haystack. So we're just printing out the haystack here, and then we run the demo. And this is a lot more. Okay, so this is the position that I am returning, which is messing this up. So position is being returned as just a single value. Let's print out that haystack again, and then let's do the demo. And so this is a lot nicer when you don't do it in a Jupyter notebook or Jupyter terminal. So let me just run this Python bisect demo. So what's happening here is we are reversing back through the list of needles. So starting with 31, if you looked in that reversed, we're saying it's at position 14. And so we did 14 times this string, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We put 31. So 31, here's the list. Here's our haystack. We're going to put 31 there at the end. We go back. Where does 30 go? 30 goes on the right. 29 goes on the right of that. 23 now skips over. It goes between 23 and 26. Now, Luciano, in his example, also adds what you can say is use the left function, so bisect.left, and what that does is it's going to default to putting the items on the left. So you see before here, 30 defaulted to shifting into the right in the haystack. Now it's going to shift into the left. It's a little bit subtle, but if you're using this module and you are inserting things into an array, you can insert it to the right or to the left, depending upon just your preference. And by default, it goes into the right. So this this code allows us to insert into this sorted sequence these needles. Okay, so I was wrong here. It is only 3 inputs, but this space here is a string formatting protocol. So you learn something new. I learned something new every time I do this and work through this book, that it is padding, string formatting the input here depending upon what's passed in. So here it's adding, okay, here the number here is actually pulling from the first position and padding it to the back number. So that's just actually some interesting kind of string formulation that Luciano Ramalho is doing in this example. So for example, this is 23 at 9. So this is pulling here from the back. That is pretty interesting. Okay, I had a comment on the YouTube video about leaving in some of the places where I was struggling to figure out what's going on. So enjoy that bit for you. I'll leave that in. The next piece that I want to talk about in this example is insort. So this is the code, which is a lot more straightforward. So let's just copy this and bring it over to IPython. And actually, I recommend you folks type this out by hand instead of copy and pasting it. So that's actually what I'll do. And then let's just talk through this code together. Okay, so let's just set a global variable. That's going to be our size. Here we set 7. We're going to set a random seed so we can replicate this. I'm going to set 42. He has this particular random seed that's probably pretty interesting for the example. The random seed I always set is 42. I'm sure it will work similarly for you to get the idea. So for I in range of size. We are going to have a new item, which we are going to generate a random integer from the range of double our size. And then we're going to insort. So keeping our list sorted, we're passing the list in the new integer that we've gotten. And then we'll print out and show where we have insorted that particular new item into the list. Okay, so let's go through this. So we got 10 as our first item. It went in as 10. We got 1 as the next one. So it went in the first place. 0 goes in here. 11 goes in the back. 4 goes between 0, 1, 10, and 11. 3 goes there. We got 3 again. So it goes in on the right. So I wonder if you do insort.left. No, it doesn't have insort left. Actually, in the book, what does he say? Oh, there is also an insort left. Insort underscore left. That should do it. And actually, it blew up my list because our list is a mutable object, and we didn't reset it when I did this, and that's why these lists are a lot more blown up here. Well, that's going to be it for this video. There's a lot to digest in those small example code that we went over. Hopefully, you were able to follow along with that. Let me know if you have questions or comments, and I'll see you back here for the next one. Take care.